Hello, I'm Martin Sheen. You know, by the time you go to bed tonight, 22 U.S. military veterans will have taken their own lives. And tomorrow, the same thing will happen, and the day after that, and the day after that. This is an epidemic.
My name's Ronan Lee. Served in the Air Force for 4 years. I've struggled with suicide since I was 15 years old. Having suicidal thoughts, I've attempted once. I worked as a suicide hotline call operator.
My name's Michael Sorensen. Got tired of hurting everybody and not wanting to open up. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna commit suicide.
You know, not a lot of people want to admit, hey, I thought about killing myself. They don't want to. You seem weak when that's the perception, is you seem weak when you admit that kind of stuff.
My name is Jesse Acosta, retired Sergeant Major, United States Army. I didn't want to come home this way. I couldn't see myself living in darkness and more or less shutting myself out of everybody and everything.
When a veteran commits suicide, they leave behind the shattered lives of spouses, children, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and friends who would give anything to have just one more day with that person.
I'm Stan Mayer. I'm a Marine. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan. There's a community of storytelling, and that's how we rebuild these bonds that were somehow broken in war. In other cultures, the community absorbs that story. You come home and they take it away from you. It becomes part of the community's identity. And they do rituals and everything to make sure that you know that.
These veteran suicides touch every community and every state, and the problem is just too big for any one organization or any one person to fix. Statistics say it all. 1 every 65 minutes. More than 20 a day. 140 per week. 8,000 per year. 85% increase in women veteran suicides. 20% of all suicides are veterans.
You don't want to seem weak. You bury that stuff. And I've done it for a while. I still do it.
Nobody really wants to go to mental health. I was infantry. I go to mental health, they take away my weapon. The reason it didn't work for me is because I didn't let it. Had too many walls up. I was constantly fighting it, constantly finding loopholes in it. I turned it into a game.
Exclusively run by veterans and volunteers who understand their desperation is what makes the National Veterans Foundation different.
They're a lot more open. They don't go by, you know, the structure of the VA. And it's a lot easier to communicate with those folks.
They'll reach out to other organizations or other people in their network to find out what it is that they can do to further this or further that. But the biggest thing is you have to make that decision.
Since 1985, the NVF has helped over 400,000 veterans and their families with essential resources, including post-traumatic stress counseling.
My name is James Bain. I'm originally from Salina, Tennessee. But it makes it hard because you see these veterans who are in such a painful spot, and they think they don't have any options. But if you called one of your brothers up and you really needed, they're there.
The National Veterans Foundation was created for just this reason, to make sure any veteran in need had a place to call where one of their own, a fellow vet, answered and understood the pain they were feeling.
A lot of things start going on in your head. Who's gonna wanna be with you? What about the job you have? What about your career in the military? What about everything? At that point in time, it's like freeze frame, you know, it just stops.
I felt like I was searching for purpose, and a lot of veterans take a lot of different routes after the military to figure out how to fit in or where they fit in.
Let your circle know that there is a place and a number for veterans, male or female, to call if they are in crisis.
I would advise them to just speak to somebody, talk to somebody. Don't bury all of that inside, because that only leads to you harming yourself.
I drank just enough alcohol to keep my blood thin. I made a warm bath, jumped in the tub, made the initial cut with a sharp knife, and then from there I went with a butter knife until I got to the bone. Yeah, by the time I got to the bone, I was still Yeah, I could still see good enough, but everything was real hazy. And at the end of the day, when it's dark and everything's quiet.
You know, sympathy is looking at somebody and just saying, hey, I'm sorry that you're down there, man. But empathy is actually getting down in the hole with that person. I'm here with you to go through it. And I can say for myself that means the world.
I was a lost cause. You know, a lot of people considered me like that. Even I did. But with a couple of people helping, a little bit of support here and there, just some words of wisdom, guidance.
There's no judgment. There's just, hey, I'm right here. And I think people like myself and other veterans and just people who are feeling suicidal, they need to know that somebody's next to them. Because if nobody's next to them, then what's the point of, you know, me being here?
You never know how close someone is to an edge or to hurting themselves or maybe someone else, or where they're at in their life and their journey.
16 years and 2 wars have stretched our military personnel to the breaking point. The sheer volume of deployments endured by our forces have had a devastating effect on them and their families. None of us, of course, can change the whole world, but all of us can change the world around us. We have all the capacity and the ability to make a difference.
I'm Courtney Munch. I was just in a production of Ajax in Iraq, and I played AJ, who is sort of the female incarnation of Ajax. Both of them ultimately do commit suicide.
As someone who has PTSD, acting itself is a very healing process. If I don't allow myself to have emotions, and I feel like I get eroded from the inside out.
1 in 3 women in the military have experienced sexual abuse. It is uncomfortable, but we can all engage in the uncomfort and make it better.
Don't look away. This is real. This is happening, you know, and it's going to continue to happen until people speak up about it.
And that we are all a part of it. You know, it's not their story, it's our story as a nation.
If you know a veteran in crisis, reach out to them. You can make a difference in the life of a veteran today. Somebody, somewhere, who you never met, and perhaps never will, wore the uniform to defend you and me. Now, they need you and I to return that favor. Their life may depend on it.
When veterans that have sacrificed so much come home and they're not treated correctly, they're not treated properly, they're looked at as if they're crazy or they're shell-shocked or something. No, they've seen some horrific things. They have issues with that now. They need to speak to people.
Together, we can reduce the veteran suicide crisis and help protect our nation's protectors.
It doesn't always have to be the VA. You have an alternative. Go to the National Veterans Foundation. They got the pros there. They got veterans who have been through it.
I'm Martin Sheen, and on behalf of the National Veterans Foundation, I thank you for watching, for your generosity and your time, and for helping our veterans and their families. Remember, the worst part of war should not be coming home.
That's always the first place we want to go back to, is home. Until we get home.